Hey, welcome to Left Right Out. We're going to go into a little something because I wanted to talk about. I'm not going to go too much into detail because we want to keep this under 20 minutes like I normally do. The markets seem to be, I don't know what they're doing. It seems to be more algorithmic trading because people seem to be parsing what the Fed is saying, and maybe they're calling them out. Like, will the Fed actually do this? Or if not, it was interesting because I've said that they can't get past maybe 1.5 in the Fed funds rate without really sending this thing into a tailspin. And that's just based off, they've held it so low that the market is grew up around these low interest rates. Now, it's funny because there was an article that came out, a Wall Street gentleman, I can't remember what firm he was, he is saying the same thing. He says they can't get past 1% without this thing just coming crashing down. So that's interesting. Now, I wanted to talk about taxes because I was getting into some philosophical stuff. Now, taxes to me, I didn't think much about them until the philosophical, moral, ethical nature of taxes until about 10 years ago when I ran for office. And, before then and even some afterwards, up until then and a little bit afterwards and before, I always had the view, and many of you probably have it, and the majority of the people, is that taxes there's a gradation in there, and they're not necessarily think about them in too much of a moral standpoint, more of there's a certain precipice there needs to be some taxes, and what's the level of taxation, right? Well, I've come to a different understanding. My evolution as a libertarian thinker, as an Austrian economist or economic theory thinker, just reading stuff like Bastiat and the Anatomy of the State and all this other jazz that is like that, you come to a realization that if you live by certain principles of, or you're a Christian with the 10 Commandments, you live by certain principles, it's hard to rationalize taxation, or at least certain taxation, with, outside the realm of not just calling it theft, right? So, there is some truth, and it's a very good campaign that's been waged in the last few years, calling taxation theft, and essentially that is what it is. And it's hard to get around that with a sufficient argument to bypass that principle. Now you can get a more pragmatic argument of like how we're going to do certain things, but from a principled standpoint, it's hard to refute that argument. Now I want to get into different taxation. I guess not levels, but it occurred to me. Let me fix this real quick. Talking about property taxes, because I was thinking about the housing market and how this thing's essentially crumbling down as somebody drills a hole through a wall. But anyway, don't mind that sound. Property taxes and the relationship between the housing market we have now and the elevated values that are based off low interest rates, and this kind of pulling forward of demand or manipulating demand, let's just put it that way, because there's different aspects of it, and driving these prices higher. With that regard, as I've noticed when I owned a home, or I've owned a few homes, but as is, it's affected by the I guess you call it mark to market, or the house, what they perceive the value is, and you pay those taxes every year to your county or whatnot, and that seemed to be one of the most unjust taxes that I could possibly think of. And also I was thinking, because there's a recent proposal of taxing unrealized gains, which seems completely unethical. But then I realized that essentially that's what the property tax is, right? Because as your property goes up in perceived value, because you haven't necessarily sold it or take any kind of gain off that, it's really a pure speculation based off other transactions that have happened around the area. Or maybe not even that. Maybe it's just what the county assessor assesses on there. So you're paying taxes based off this, what I would call almost an educated guess of what you would get your house for. Because in reality, until you get somebody to purchase that, then you haven't realized that gain, but you are paying taxes based off that value. So in a sense, it's one of the most unethical taxes, the property tax. And we should be talking about that more as we get into this unrealized capital gains tax debate, or being pushed forward by the more progressive wing of the states as this guy drills to China or wherever he's drilling through this wall. But so it came to I started also delving into the thought that as these property values continue to increase, you might have people having to sell due to property taxes, because there are certain people here, and I was one of them at one time, where I had a budget and I had owned a house and I'd lost my job, but I was able to make it through various ways, of whether renting a room out or when I was waiting Airbnb, just doing all the kinds of stuff just to keep my house. And and property taxes kept going up, but as property taxes going up, my budget started really getting constrained, and I could see people having to sell over property taxes at a certain and become renters. So I don't know if this is, you can go into the megalomaniacal or the conspiracy theory side of this thing, but all I can see is what's happening in the market and the possibilities of this. So what I am getting at in this one, we can get into other taxes, because there's certain states that do what is it? Anything deeded, or like a title, or you have to pay a tax every year on it, and then you like a vehicle, and then you also register it too. So to me, that what we get into this weird, area, and it's not really black and white, it's kind of black or white, where you are essentially leasing your property from the state, and you are essentially leasing in certain these other states your vehicle, anything that has a deed or a title to it, so that you can use it. Whereas vehicle registration is a little different, because theoretically you don't have to register your vehicle if you use it on your own land or whatever. But anyway, these other things, where they're property taxes, in a sense, you are what it has put an impetus on you, or what has put you in this case, in any of these cases, where you are essentially not the owner, you are a leaser, and like try not paying your property tax, they'll come and snatch your stuff up quick. So I would propose that we, as a society, really look into this, and if we are a real free society, if we value property rights, if we value the individual and the rights of the individual, that we really need to take a look at these type of taxes first. I mean, we can go into other ones as well, and if we're going to steal money from people, a more justifiable means, at least allow them to have an essential ownership of whatever it is that they own, and pay taxes by other means. Now, what are the other means would those be? I'm not here to say at this particular time in this podcast. I'm just bringing this up, that this is probably the most unethical tax. It is one of those. It's kind of an unrealized tax, and it needs to stop, in a sense, in my opinion, if we truly are a free society, which we're going the other direction. But anyway, I just want to leave you with that. Now, what's going on in the world today? Look here nor there. I'll remind you again that there's a number of laptops from one persuasion that are interesting. There's a number of conspiracy theories that are going around that need explanation. Let's go off the top. We got Hunter Biden laptop, which now has been its forefront, and some interesting things that are on there that keep on getting leaked out more and more. We're seeing. You got Debbie Wasserman Schultz, I think, had one that was taken or breached. The Clinton server and all that jazz, all those emails still don't have everything on that. And then you have Anthony Weiner's laptop. That's pretty crazy, because there's a lot of speculation around that. We haven't really seen all that crap on there. You have all the tapes, laptop hard drives, everything recovered from Epstein's Island. You have Ghislaine Maxwell's Black Book, where there's all this stuff. You have the unsolved, really, mystery of the killing of Justice Antonin Scalia, which I will keep thinking about, because nobody's really done anything good on that. And there's a lot of interesting stuff on that that's very similar to like a JFK type thing, and the reasons why he would be knocked off. There's another laptop, Seth Rich. There you go, the Seth Rich stuff. His laptop, the information regarding him, and possible leaking of information to the press regarding the Democratic National Committee, and I need to go deep into that, but he was possibly a source there for a lot of information, and probably the reason why he was actually killed. Anyway, I'll leave you there. Talk to you later. Peace.